evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Nik Nikam. Welcome to Nik Nikam Network Talk Show. And we have two special guests. One is City Council member Amy Mitchell, and next to her is Rick Miller, who is a state representative representing our Fort Bend County area. And we are going to be talking about two entirely different topics. You can watch us on YouTube, and if you want to listen to us on the radio, you can download our app, which is called NNN Media. And then you can watch it on your Android or iPhones, and you can also watch us on YouTube. It's also being live video streamed to Google Plus. You will also be able to listen to it later on. If you would like to join in the conversation, the number to call here is 281-745-4161. This program has been funded by Atri Medical Center and Sugarland Heart Center. Okay, we're going to be talking about two entirely different topics during first half of the hour. We're going to be talking about social media, a double-edged sword. What we put and what we say and what we do could come to haunt us. And Amy is going to give us a lot of examples. And during second half of the hour, we're going to be going to Rick Miller and get a State of the Union Texas address.
I got it.
And also cover about what's going on in Washington also. Okay, Amy, welcome. Let's start with social media implications. And before we do that, maybe you can give us a really brief introduction. Amy is a lawyer in Fort Sugarland area, and maybe you can tell us about your background and also about your law firm, and then we'll
I'd be delighted to. My name's Amy Mitchell. I'm currently Mayor Pro Tem of Sugarland, but I also have a law firm. I'm a partner in one of the first female-owned law firms in Fort Bend County, Mitchell and Duff. I've been a practicing lawyer for over 30 years. I've tried close to 100 lawsuits, somewhere between 70, 80 to 100 lawsuits successfully. And I also utilize media, social media, for providing information to the public, getting information out as far as what's going on in the community or in people's lives, and basically providing information as to the world around us.
That's fascinating. You know, just before we started, you were mentioning something about working with some of the greatest Hollywood stars. So tell us about that before we go into the, I mean, that's also part of the social interaction.
Well, it is. As a side hobby, I guess. I've also been in movies, and I've actually been in print ads as well. I was in movies with Renee Zellweger and Forrest Whitaker, as well as with Chris Evans. I was in a movie called Puncture with him, and my own love song with Renee and with Forrest. And then finally, I also was in Temple Grandin. I've been in some smaller films as well. It's a great hobby. It's just fun to get that
That's fascinating. I mean, this must be my lucky day, because I didn't think I was going to be sitting next to a Hollywood star, a Mayor Pro Tem of Sugarland, a council member, and next to our state representative, you know, who could be the next, we'll find out what. Rick, you can also, you know, pitch in, and first we'll talk about the implications of social media interaction, because Amy brought up some very important points. And I said, you know, why not we get you on the radio talk show and do a live video stream so that it will be documented and it will be of great benefit to the public. Okay, you start off and tell us about your experience, and maybe we'll bring up some points and we'll sort of bounce around.
Sounds wonderful. One of the most interesting things that I think people don't realize, at this moment, there are 1.5 billion users of Facebook. At any given time, there are approximately 500,000 users using their mobile device to provide information, make calls, take photos, put things up on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. There are about 316 million users of Twitter, and there are about 300 million users of Instagram. What that means is anytime you are walking around, whether you intend to or not, your life can become public. And it can become public in a very major way, with your permission or perhaps without. And the ramifications of that can really make a difference in your life in the long run.
You're absolutely right. You know, let's take, for example, somebody is sitting at workplace and have one window open on social media, and how much time is lost in labor hours.
Well, people are very active on Facebook for sure, and you can tell when they're working, especially if they're posting during the work day.
Yeah.
So, and to be honest, I've posted during the work day, but a lot of times what I'm posting, okay, we have railroad construction,
Yes.
and I'll get a message from the city that a road's going to be closed, so I will immediately go to Facebook and post that.
Yeah.
I may post that I'm at some event. And it's a way to communicate with the community. I may get an email that somebody's passed away,
Yeah.
and I may post that to, again, provide relevant information to the community. And I will post it when I get it. So it may be at work, it may not. But the problem is when people abuse that, and it takes away from the workplace and work hours. And that's the thing I think employers have to be careful with, is their employees abusing Facebook for improper reasons during the work hour rather than doing their job.
That's you're right, absolutely. Plus the amount of time it is taking away from people's lives. You know, it's almost an addiction, just like cigarettes, alcohol, and anything else that we can think of. People
will definitely spend hours on Facebook to see
including
what's
myself.
I'll admit, people say I'm the Facebook queen, so I think I might be accused of spending a lot of time on there too.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I have seen is people are so naive to put so much information on the Facebook, everything related to where they live, where they're having party, and oh, I'm at the Intercontinental Airport. I'm going to Europe for 2 weeks. Announcing to the whole world where you're going to be, and you know what they need to do to clean up your house.
Yes, and that's something. When I travel, I will never post where I am when I am out of state, because I don't want anybody to know my house is empty. You are basically begging somebody to come knock on your door without your permission and help themselves to what you may have. So I think it's really important. You can take those photos. You can post them after you return. But do not broadcast to the world, I'm not home, come visit.
Yeah, I'm in Paris. So
that's
next to the Eiffel Tower. Now it's the best time for you to do what you want.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay, another thing is, you know, people post some of the things and they don't know that whether it is appropriate to post some of these things, like posting pictures or their lunch or...
It's, okay, one of the things people have to be very concerned about when they're posting is many employers these days will check your Facebook. And they will either, if you're going on an interview, they may look at what you say, what you've posted, what your ideas are, what your religious beliefs are. It's not proper to do it, but it does happen. If you have pictures of you constantly partying and you are going for a very serious job as an engineer, they may look at it and say, you're not the kind of person who we want to hire. We don't need the partier. We need the people with serious work ethic and attitudes. And some employers actually request that you give them your Facebook password so they can go check it out. Kind of scary. I certainly wouldn't give them my password. But the point is, the point is that when whatever you put on Facebook personally, or if somebody else posted about you, is there for the world to see. So if you have strong attitudes politically, you may want to be more careful about posting it because it may offend somebody, your employer or whomever.
That is true. And also, you know, like when people have all these postings, some of them are like open public book. You don't have to be even a friend or this one.
Absolutely.
Let me give you a personal example. When I was running for office and then got into my first session, I was doing some Facebook and tweeting. And you'd be surprised if you ever came up to the legislature or just go on and get in the gallery and watch what's happening. Everybody has their little gadget and they're working either with their staff or, but I found that all my tweets and all of my Facebooks were being accumulated on a page, a political page. And when I found that out, I stopped tweeting and I stopped doing that. Now, they were all okay, but someone was collecting them for everybody to see if they went to that particular page.
Well, you know, when you're sitting in a legislature, it's like free food for your opponents. Okay, look at this. This is what my opponent is doing. 1 to 935 items.
You're very careful because see, all of that is filmed.
I know.
It's all live.
Yeah.
We're there in the chamber.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So you'll see us go into the back corners where you can't see us. And we'll,
that's fascinating.
We'll make a phone call.
Okay. And also, sometimes people ask to be friends. Then I go and check and see. All I got is a nice, pretty lady's picture, and there's no history. We don't even know where they live and all these things. To me, it looks like somebody is trying to fish.
They are. And also there's people who, and I've had this, there's somebody who's my friend and all of a sudden I get a friend request and I'm thinking, how is that possible? I'm already your friend. If that happens, very often it is somebody who's trying to steal their identity and they can use it for nefarious means. What I do whenever I get something that's questionable, either if they have no friends at all or they just got on Facebook that day, then I tend not to accept their friendship. If it is somebody who I'm already friends with, I will send a message to my friends saying, did you open this other account? And almost every single time they did not. And I still don't understand the purpose of people stealing your identity on Facebook, but it does happen.
That's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Nik Nikam Network Talk Show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and my special guest is Sugarland Mayor Pro Tem Amy Mitchell, and she's also a council member. And next to her is Rick Miller, who is our state representative from District 26, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And a lot of times the information we see is very, very inaccurate.
It can be very inaccurate. If you didn't post it, okay. People will actually tag photos of me and I look and I'm like, that's not me. I didn't do that. And so it's interesting because it may wrongly be presenting something that is not accurate about who I am, what I think, what my position is. Now, you can untag yourself, which I would recommend if you don't want to be tagged like that, but it is a real possibility, and especially with the identity theft cases.
For example, let me tell you, when the Indian former president Abdul Kalam passed away, somebody posted a big picture on the White House with the flag flying half height. It had no relationship. Then when I went and did some Google search, that there was no flag flying at half height on that particular day. And it was some old picture. They took it and put a caption and all this and saying, oh, this is the greatest thing and all these things. So there are so many false informations and misleading informations.
Photoshop. You are talking about Photoshop. They can take your face and your body and put it anywhere. There actually was a local paper not long ago which took a former mayor and put his face on somebody else's body and put him somewhere where he wasn't. So it can happen. And there's a real danger of it on social media where you're going to see photos that may or may not have some mechanical assist.
Oh, yeah. I think they can do anything. They can take and make anybody president if they want to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day I suddenly become the president.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Nik Nikam Network Talk Show. It is being live video streamed to YouTube and Google+. Thanks to Google+. And while we are talking about Google+, one of our Indian person, Sundar Pichai, was named as the CEO of Google.
Well, that's exciting.
It's a great news for all the people, and especially people from our community, because, I said hard work does pay off.
It does.
Dedication to hard work. And also, I think one of the things I see is that, as you said, the employers can look at, and even government. I mean, of course, if somebody is questionable and the authorities want to scrutinize, the first thing they do is social media and find out, where they have been, what their trail pets are. And in that way, they can actually rebuild the entire. Before they used to say, okay, if we got your credit card account, we'll tell you who your wife is, who your wife is, who your girlfriends are, where you spent your time and all these things. But now social media, you're giving them all this information.
Absolutely.
They don't have to look for those.
Now, I'll tell you, actually, in criminal cases, because you talked about the government, a police officer may arrest someone for DWI. they're very grateful to the person who posted that they were partying all night and has a picture of them drinking alcohol. Yeah. So again, it's where the government, and rightly so, can go in and find information about you that you made readily available that can be used against you and will be used in a court of law. We see that a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Nik Nikam Network Talk Show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam. We are talking about the dangers of being too involved in the social media, be it Facebook, Twitter, or I don't know. There are so many, WhatsApp, and a whole bunch of other things. So, like even for example, somebody who says he's disabled, can't walk and all this, they're collecting Social Security and all these things. Next thing you know, we got all their vacations, like you said, dancing in the nightclubs and all these things. How could you be disabled in a wheelchair and then you're dancing in a nightclub?
One has to wonder.
It gets very easy to prove that their claims are false when they post it on Facebook or in Instagram or any of these other social media sites. They are making the case against themselves. But in my opinion, if you're doing that and it's fraud, you should be caught.
That's right, yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to join in the conversation, the number to call here is 281-745-4161. We are talking about social media, a double-edged sword. So we know, all these things are happening because the more time you spend on the social media, then you see all these weird things that are coming across our pages, and like maybe 50, 100 postings on any given day. What would be your advice as a lawyer for people so that they're not exposing themselves and putting their whole life story out in the street?
In some ways, I would say, don't do anything you wouldn't want your grandmother to see. Okay? Because the reality is that anything that would embarrass your family very well can be found to embarrass you. It is critical. When I post, I'm only going to post about things in the community, about, like I said, railroad crossings, deaths, successes. Something happened. Sugar Land was just called the most scenic city. So I'm going to share that. So it's things that you would not worry about a family member, an employer, or somebody else you respect seeing, and never post anything that potentially could be used against you. So if you're partying, again, that can come across. I have a great example. We had a probate case. And this woman took some rings that were owned by the deceased woman. She denied she took them. Well, we looked through Facebook, and there she was wearing the rings and showing them off. So you can very much utilize it to get to the truth. But if you value your employment, if you value your community status, if you value how your family thinks about you, then what you do is use this for the positive ways that you can use it to communicate good things with people, interesting things, not something that will either hurt others, such as cyberbullying, or hurt yourself in a job or anything else.
You brought up the very interesting subject of cyberbullying, and sometimes people make such caustic comments on the Facebook, not realizing, what they are doing is going to hurt themselves.
It can not only hurt themselves, and you see cases of it, especially with young kids, where there is constant bullying, attacks on Facebook. It becomes very public. These children might get very distressed, upset, depressed, and ultimately you might see a suicide result in it, all because this enabled people to put the most horrific things about another human being. And you can block people if you're on Facebook. And that is one of the things. If there is somebody who is giving you problems, there is a provision in there where you can block them. They can't find you. They can't see you. They can't post on your page. And then also there are privacy settings on Facebook. And I recommend people make themselves more private so that people can't access all their photos, can't access their friends. So it's another way to protect yourself as well.
You're absolutely right. And, just this afternoon, I was something came across the Facebook, actually, which showed that some men in their 20s or 30s are targeting teenagers, like 12 to 18 years old, and then putting a young man's picture or something like that,
Yes.
and then starting a conversation, then luring them to meet them in private locations and all this. And this was a sting operation fellow who took the parents on the ride, and who was enticing these teenagers to meet him, and then they showed the parents, and the parents were shocked that these kids were coming to meet this man and say, this is what your kids are doing.
They don't realize. They don't realize. And it is a problem with young people. When my son decided, he went to college, he went to UT, I let him go on Facebook. But the only way he could do it is if I was his friend. So I could see exactly what he was posting on Facebook. And it worked out for us to be very useful, because all of a sudden I get a chat message, Mom, what if? And then I would suddenly have to I'd respond. And first he'd say, not me, Mom. But I would be able to assist him with some issues he was having up at college without being there. He's 3 hours away. It didn't matter. But I felt like I had more control because I could at least see what was going on in his page. Was there any issues? And parents can do that as well. They can monitor and see what their kids are doing.
Is there an age limit before anybody can get on this social media?
I wish there was. No.
Really?
I don't think so.
No.
You're kidding me.
No, but your parents can monitor it and ensure, they set it up. It's only they set up the password, or there's an agreed password, so that they can always see exactly what's going on.
But the thing is, we think we have control over children in the house, but when they go outside, they can have a different account, just like this 20, 30-year-old man I was talking about, and they can be having a totally different communications with their friends and peers.
It's true, and that's really a problem, because you don't know if the people who say they are someone are actually that person.
That's right. I had a Facebook invitation last week, and it came from a young lady. She looked like she was young, in Florida, who says she was the head of a human trafficking organization in Florida. Well, that's an interest of mine here in Texas. So I wrote back to her. I said, okay, let's just see if this works out. But, well, tell me what you're doing, and how involved and what's the legislature doing about human trafficking. Well, what came back was, I'm going to be in Sugar Land next week. Are you available for breakfast or lunch? I don't think I responded to that one. But see, that's what's happening. And it was an issue that I'm very interested in, the human trafficking here. And but anyway, I thought
maybe they look at what are our interests, and then maybe target that one so that they can have.
I'm a legislator.
Access.
I don't know how she picked me, but
you're a public figure who made their opinions about what they think is important for our community known to the public.
But all I had to do was ask some very good questions and say, hey, this is something I'm very interested in. What are you doing there about this? And then,
you're absolutely right. Like as I already mentioned, when somebody asks to be a friend, then I think I would look at their whole history to see, is there a connection or a remote connection? Maybe I went to a party or something, we were interacting and something like that. But when there's no connection, sometimes they come from out of the country. I said, how the hell did you find out about me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have a ton of those, but I always look to see if Amy Mitchell's there. And then I become their friend.
Well, I don't know if that is that's going to solve the problem. Okay, maybe you got a few more minutes. Give us some tips from a legal perspective for people who are on social media. What is the right amount of information that you really want to share with the public, because it is going. Nobody. Some people who have like 1,500 to 5,000 friends. How did they get? Well, you're a public figure. For example, some of the movie stars in India got 25 million followers.
They win. They win. I don't have 25 million. But I have, I believe, over 3,000. And I welcome people, but I do, before I welcome them, check them out. I see who their friends are. I see, do we have some commonality? Are they and I'll look to see if they're your friend. Actually, just yesterday I added somebody because they were your friend.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But and I may, if I've met them, then usually it's going to be okay. But you also, like I said, there are inherent protections. You can prevent people from seeing things. You can make all your posts private. Now, the one thing I would be careful about, I think people don't realize this, but there's also I think it's called geocaching. But if you post a photo, you can find out where that photo was taken, and predators, children predators can do that, and they'll find the children based on the location of the photo. And you don't have to say where the photo was. The photo has the identifying markers. So I would certainly say if you're ever going to post family photos, and especially of your children, share it with your friends, but make it only so your friends, people you trust, can see the children and share in your joy. Don't share it with strangers who may have some ulterior motive. So that's certainly something. Watch who you add as friends, check them out. If you see any sign of trouble, unfriend them. And block them. Those are the two things definitely you want to do. And again, be circumspect about what you post, both for your own sake as far as work or your house. You don't want anybody breaking in, as well as for your family's sake, because you really don't want people, and it could be difficult if you have a child and somebody goes up and saw that you had a child and they go, oh, you're such and such, you're Alicia, I know your mom. Well, they may not, and Alicia may think it's okay because he knew her name. So I would definitely be more cautious about what you post.
That's very important. Okay, give out your information about your law firm and also your city address and phone number. So if somebody has any complaints about City of Sugar Land, maybe they can.
Oh, I get the complaints all the time, and I will take care of them right away, or I will try to. My name's Amy Mitchell. I'm with Mitchell and Duff. My law firm's phone number is 281-341-1718. For City Council, as you said, I was Mayor Pro Tem and a City Council member of District 3. There you can email me at amitchell@sugarlandtext.gov. And my door is always open. If you have questions about the city, if you want to learn things about the city, if you have issues with the city, you can always contact me.
Okay, that's very good. Just hang around. We're going to switch gears and we'll talk about Sugar Land and state politics, and you can also participate. Let me close this one.